It happens to everyone. That sickening slow-motion fall. You pick up your phone and there it is. The spiderweb of a cracked screen. Your heart sinks. But then you think, it's just the glass. It should be a simple fix. So you take it to an independent repair shop, and they quote you a reasonable price. But then they add a warning. We can replace the screen, but your Face ID might stop working. Or your auto brightness. You take it to the official Apple store, and they quote you a price so high, it's almost half the cost of a new phone. You're standing there, feeling stuck, trapped. And you ask yourself, why? Why is something so simple, so complicated, and expensive? The answer to that question is the start of a much bigger story. A story that goes far beyond your phone. Now, imagine you're not holding a phone. You're a farmer in the middle of harvest season. Your $500,000 John Deere tractor is sitting dead in a field of corn. The sun is beating down, and every hour you lose costs you thousands of dollars. The error code points to a single, tiny, faulty sensor. A $50 part. But you can't replace it. Because even if you do, the tractor's computer won't recognize it. It needs to be authorized by a John Deere technician, using their proprietary software. And the nearest one is hundreds of miles and 3 days away. Your livelihood is being held hostage by a software lock on a machine you supposedly own. This isn't an accident, it's a feature. This is a calculated system designed to funnel every possible dollar back to the manufacturer, long after you've made the initial purchase. It's a system that treats customers not as owners, but as tenants on their own property. This isn't a hypothetical. This is a war. A quiet, corporate war being waged against you. It's called the right to repair, and it's a fight over the fundamental question, when you buy something, do you actually own it? So, how did we get here? How did we get to a point where a farmer can't fix his own tractor, and you can't replace your own phone battery without the manufacturer's blessing? The answer is a deliberate strategy. A strategy of control, executed through brilliant and often infuriating engineering. Let's start with Apple, the masters of the closed ecosystem. For years, Apple has used physical barriers. They invented proprietary pentalobe screws shaped like a 5-pointed star, specifically so you couldn't open your phone with a normal screwdriver. They use excessive amounts of glue, making it a nightmare to remove a battery without damaging something else. But the real genius is what they do with software. It's a tactic called parts pairing. Inside your iPhone, components like the screen, battery, and camera have unique serial numbers. When you replace a part, even with a genuine, identical Apple part taken from another iPhone, the phone's software checks the new serial number. If it doesn't recognize it from its own secret authorized database, it starts punishing you. Your battery health feature might disappear. Your camera might refuse to work. Your True Tone display function could vanish. This tactic also crushes the market for used parts. An independent shop can't just salvage a working camera from a phone with a broken screen. That genuine part is rendered useless by a software roadblock. Apple's official reason for this? Security and safety. They claim that only they can guarantee the quality and safety of repairs. They say it protects you from faulty third-party components that could be a security risk. But critics, like Louis Rossmann, a prominent repair advocate with a massive YouTube following, call that nonsense. Remember Batterygate? Apple was caught secretly slowing down older iPhones, claiming it was to preserve battery health. After a public outcry, they were forced to offer cheaper battery replacements. It was a clear demonstration that they have the power to degrade your device's performance through software, pushing you towards an upgrade. He argues it's not about security, it's about monopoly. It's about making independent repair so difficult and unreliable that you have no choice but to go back to them and pay their exorbitant prices. It ensures they are the only profitable source for repairs, and it gently nudges you to just give up and buy a new device. And if Apple wrote the book on controlling consumer electronics, John Deere perfected it for heavy machinery. For over a century, farming has been about self-reliance. Farmers fixed their own equipment. It was a point of pride and a necessity. But today, a John Deere tractor is more like a computer on wheels. And John Deere has decided to lock the farmers out of their own engine bays. The onboard computer, the ECU, controls everything. If a part fails, the software often puts the tractor into a limp mode, drastically reducing its power, or shuts it down completely. And thanks to a controversial interpretation of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, or DMCA, John Deere claims that the software running the tractor is not sold but licensed. They argue that allowing farmers to access the diagnostic software would be a violation of their copyright and could lead to illegal modifications, like bypassing emissions controls. Think about that. A law designed in the 90s to stop people from pirating movies and music is now being used to argue that a farmer can't access the diagnostic code on his own tractor. They've turned a physical tool into a subscription service and are using copyright law as their enforcer. The result? Farmers are forced to call an authorized dealer for even the simplest electronic repairs. They have to pay a call-out fee, pay for travel time, and then pay the dealer's high hourly rate. A simple sensor replacement can balloon into a multi-thousand-dollar bill. For a farmer, waiting 3 days during harvest is not an inconvenience. It's a catastrophe. It can be the difference between a profitable year and a crushing debt. The crops don't wait, the rain doesn't wait, and the loan payments certainly don't wait. This isn't just about a tractor. It's about food security and the survival of family farms. It's created a service monopoly that has farmers across the country feeling like they are merely renting their own equipment. But people are starting to fight back. The right to repair movement is gaining incredible momentum. On the front lines are the independent repair technicians and activists who have been lobbying lawmakers for years, and it's working. States like New York, California, Colorado, and Minnesota have all recently passed right to repair laws, forcing manufacturers to make parts, tools, and diagnostic information available to everyone, not just their authorized dealers. But this victory wasn't easy. These companies and their lobbyists spend millions of dollars in state capitals trying to kill these bills with fear-mongering arguments about safety and cybersecurity. These new laws are game changers. They mandate that companies must sell the exact same diagnostic tools, spare parts, and repair manuals to the public and independent shops at a fair price. The fight is also being waged online by security researchers who meticulously document these anti-repair features, giving activists the technical proof they need to win legal and public battles. And in the fields, a rebellion is brewing. Farmers, pushed to the brink, have turned to the digital black market. They are buying pirated diagnostic software and firmware from hackers in Eastern Europe, often Ukraine. They are jailbreaking their own tractors, using cracked software to bypass John Deere's locks, clear error codes, and get their machines running again. Think about that. American farmers are relying on Ukrainian hackers to be able to fix their own equipment in their own barns. It is a stunning act of digital disobedience against corporate control. This fight is about so much more than a cracked screen or a faulty sensor. It's about the very definition of ownership in the 21st century. Companies like Apple and John Deere want to sell us a product, but then keep us tethered to their ecosystem of services, subscriptions, and authorized repairs. They want to turn products into services you never truly own. This business model is incredibly profitable. The right to repair movement argues that ownership should be simple. If you bought it, you own it. You should have the right to open it, to modify it, and to fix it wherever and with whomever you choose. It's about reducing electronic waste by making things last longer. It's about supporting small, local repair businesses, and it's about giving people like that farmer true independence and control over the tools they depend on for their survival. The tide is slowly turning, but the fight is far from over. So the next time your device breaks and you're faced with an impossible repair bill, remember the story of the farmer and his tractor. Remember that you are part of a much bigger fight. A fight for the simple, powerful, and fundamental right to repair the things you own.